Today I'm going to tell you my story as a 52-year-old punk drummer. Here we go. So my music life started really early on, probably from birth, but my oldest brother Jay, he's 9 years older than I am. He was born in 1963, I was born in 1972, and I was 3 or 4 years old and really able to kind of differentiate different bands and different kinds of music. He was pumping me with all his favorite stuff like Black Sabbath and Pink Floyd and AC/DC and all these bands, and Kiss. I love them because of the style of music. I mean, my mom was listening to like the top 40 stuff of the day, ABBA and stuff like that. I love that stuff too, but you know, the heavier, more aggressive music just really grabbed me. I mean, it's always been kind of a soothing thing for me to listen to, and I know that sounds weird for some people, but it's like taking a nice deep breath, a big refreshing deep breath. It puts me at peace, puts me at ease. So you know, I remember him putting records on, like Kiss records, and I would go grab a tennis racket and I would come out and I would act like I was Ace Frehley playing guitar in the living room and acting like a moron, and you know, I just loved it. I mean, I just really loved it. So as I started to get a little older and, you know, he was bringing records home, he would play every single one for me, and in 1978 he brought home Van Halen 1. And like everybody else on the planet, that record absolutely changed my life. That was my first true favorite band. I didn't love them because it was my brother's favorite bands. That was the first band that really spoke to me musically, and it was Eruption. I mean, that song came on and we were all just like looking at each other, listening to that record for the first time, like, what in the fuck is going on with this? I mean, it's ridiculous. And on through their whole catalog, I mean, they were primarily, you know, in those first 6 records, they were my favorite band by far. I loved Van Halen, and still love those records. I still listen to them all the time. Van Halen 2, when it came out, that's when it kind of really clicked, when I really started listening to Alex Van Halen and realizing what a fucking monster drummer he is. And that's when I really started gravitating towards drums. So as the years went on, the records were coming out, I kept air drumming along to all these things, and didn't have a drum set. I had a pair of drumsticks. I don't even know where I got them, but you know, I had a pair of drumsticks. I would just sit there and air drum to everything, and I thought I was like the best thing ever. Air drumming away. And fast forward a few years later, at 15, my grandparents bought me my first drum set for $100. And at that time, 15 years old, I was really into like Guns N' Roses. The Appetite for Destruction had just come out. Iron Maiden, I loved Iron Maiden. Metallica, of course. And just like everybody else at that time. And this was in 87. And I started playing in January of 1987, I think it was. That's when I actually started playing drums. It was 37 years ago. I went to go see Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue, and Appetite for Destruction had been out for like 3 months. Nobody knew who the fuck they were. They were opening for Motley Crue, and my first concert ever. And we went and saw them, and that was the first band I saw live. Back then, they were just a fucking just raw, like street band, and just going for it. Like all the egos had not come into play yet. Like you didn't have Axl and Slash and all these gigantic personalities, you know. It was just 5 dudes up there just destroying it. The funny thing is I went to go see Motley Crue, and other than the few little moments in their set, like Tommy Lee flipping around at his drum set and right when they first came out on stage, I don't really remember their set. But the Guns N' Roses set, I remember distinctly, like so many moments in their set. But as time grew, you know, I first started playing to to Guns N' Roses. I mean, that was the first song that I played. I learned how to play drums on that record by listening to that record and playing like Welcome to the Jungle and all those songs. And I got a cowbell for Christmas. My older brother Todd got me a cowbell that year for Christmas, and just kind of like finished off the little ensemble that I had going on with my drum set. You know, I grew from there and started kind of building upon what I had. I had a CB 700 set of drums. They were silver, and a little 5-piece kit. And, you know, I mean, it was a great starter set, and I made them sound the best that I could. Made a couple additions. I bought a splash cymbal, and I bought a China cymbal. And as the kind of years wore on, you know, I got through junior high and into high school, and I started playing with a really good friend of mine, Mike Beers. He was a guitar player and just a shredding guitar player. I mean, the guy was awesome. He had this yellow Ibanez guitar and a Randall half stack, and the thing just sounded awesome. And we'd have the old style tape recorders, like the flat ones, and we put it down the hallway and put a towel over it because the sound was complete shit. And we would record ourselves. And back then we were playing Metallica, and gosh, what else were we playing? I think Soundgarden. We played a couple Soundgarden songs. You know, just bands at the time. Maybe Red Hot Chili Peppers songs, stuff like that. I think we were playing Indians by Anthrax. We really tried to get a band going, and just really had a hard time finding people. We found a guy. We knew a guy named Roger who played bass with us for a little while. He played off and on when he could, but we could not find a singer. We got a rehearsal space. We were going out there a few nights a week after work and just jamming out. And Helmet, we played a lot of Helmet as well. All of a sudden one day, he decided to join the military. And, you know, at that point, trying to get this band going, trying to find a singer, it just died. And so I didn't know what to do. So at that time, I was really into Alice in Chains, really into Pantera, and I really wanted to be that kind of drummer, you know, somewhere between those two. And I couldn't fucking find anybody to play. So I made a flyer and put my influences on there, and, you know, I took it to the music stores. And back then, I mean, this is early 90s, like 91, maybe 92. You'd cut little strips with scissors, and each one had your phone number on it. And people would go to the music stores and they'd tear off the phone number after they read your flyer, and hopefully they would call you and, you know, get something going. So nothing happened for a couple weeks. Then all of a sudden, you know, still living at home, I come home from work and my mom comes out. She just had this big smile on her face. She's like, "Hi." I was like, "Hi, Mom." She's like, "I have a gig for you." And I'm like, okay. So some dude had called while I was at work and talked to my mom for like, I don't know, a half an hour or whatever it was, and had talked her into having me come out and play with him and his friend, his bass player buddy. Now, I go meet these guys, had no idea who they were, what they played, and I go meet them at this guy's house. I think he lived like above, kind of like a live-work kind of situation. He lived above some business, and I go meet him, and this guy is like, he's like 50 years old, and I'm like 19, maybe 20 at the time. And his bass player, Dom, was same age. The singer and guitar player's name was Joshua Firecloud, okay? He was like 6'4", skinny as a rail, long red hair, like, you know, super thin, ultra straight red hair. He had a Native American breastplate on, you know, with all the beads and everything. Like a leather jacket with the frilly, you know, things on the arms that came hanging down. I don't know. He just had this whole look. He had like the neck piece and everything. And I don't know, just big, tall, skinny dude, big nose, beard, sunken in eyes. And Dom, the bass player, looked like he was right out of the fucking Sopranos. I mean, he just had the do. It wasn't like even really a do. It was just kind of like grown out, kind of like wavy hair, like kind of, you know, a couple inches thick. And the guy barely said a peep. Joshua Firecloud talked constantly and never shut the fuck up. And turns out that we talked about it, and they said, yeah, man, we're doing like a bluesy kind of blah, blah, blah band. And I'm thinking, it's like, I don't want to fucking do that. So fast forward, you know, we decided we're going to get together and play and just kind of jam and see how it goes. And I was cool with that. And, you know, I was working at a record store at the time. We decided to get together one day after I was off of work, and there was this bar. And they said, yeah, we've got this guy. He's going to let us play. He's got a storage space in this bar. And we're going to play in the storage space. And, you know, it was like late at night. Not late at night, but I don't know, 9 o'clock, whatever it was. It's like, okay, that sounds cool. So I pack up my drums and I go down. It was like a half an hour away. I go down and I unload. I get there and they're like, here, we'll help you. So they started helping me unload, and they're loading into the bar. And there's like a stage set up, and they've got all their fucking shit set up there. And I'd never played a show before. I'd never done anything before like this. I'm thinking that we're just going to go jam. And I'm probably going to say, yeah, I'm not interested. You guys are fucking old. And you're a blues band, and I want to be a fucking metal drummer. And yeah, thanks, but no thanks. So we start setting my kit up, and I'm like, first thing, I go, well, what is it? What the fuck is this? I'm like, well, instead of just jamming in the back, he asked if we could just play. He's got some people here that wanted to hear some live music. So he just asked if we could just set up and just play, and it doesn't matter, you know, no pressure or anything. Yeah, no pressure. I'm gonna play with people I've never met before, that are 30 plus years older than me, that play a completely different style of music that I've ever even liked or that I wanted to play. But yeah, no pressure. So we get in there and we start playing. I mean, I don't even know what the fuck we're playing. I'm like, just follow along. He's playing songs I don't know. I mean, I don't know All Along the Watchtower at that point, and you know, all these fucking songs. And even if I did, he didn't stick to the fucking songs. I mean, you know, Mr. Jam Band over here is he's just fucking going like off the cuff, and he's not playing anything as written. He's just kind of going off and doing Joshua Firecloud kind of stuff. And I'm just playing along the best I can and just playing basic beats and just trying to get through it and like looking up, like looking at these people like at some bar in Florida on the side of a fucking river. And I don't know. I'm just like the whole time like, what in the fuck is going on? How am I going to get out of this? So we finish, and I'm sitting there just kind of like baffled, still trying to figure out what the hell just happened. And he was like, that was awesome, man. We should continue doing this. We should keep playing. And I was just like, yeah, okay. And he goes, here. And he hands me $100. And I was like, what's this? He goes, this is for playing tonight. They actually paid us at the bar. So here's $100. And I was like, okay. This I think it was a Friday night. And he goes, what are you doing tomorrow night? And I was like, nothing. And he goes, he wants us to come back. And he goes, another $100 if you're willing. I was like, okay. So the moral to that part of the story is immediately at 20 years old, I had quickly made the decision to whore myself out for money to play shit that I never really wanted to play in the first place. But I don't know. I did that probably for a couple months, maybe 3 months. And we would play down there on weekends, and I never really got into it, but you know, I was getting paid at an early age to go play. I was able to buy cymbals and, you know, just upgrade my gear, and you know, I mean, that part of it I really liked, and I was like, wow, I could actually make some money doing this. And I was making almost more than I was at my full-time job at a record store. This is way back. I mean, the money was not like it is today. It was, the minimum wage was like, God, it was like $3.50 an hour or something like that back then. It was fucking ridiculous. But anyway, I did that for a while, and we played this Frog Leg Festival, and God, what the fuck was the name of that town? It was this little tiny town. Oh, it was called Jupiter, Florida. and they had a frog leg festival, and it was exactly how it sounds, exactly how you think a frog leg festival would be. That's what it was. I mean, it was like this sparse little town just north of Lake Okeechobee, Florida. And if you're not familiar with Florida, Lake Okeechobee is like down kind of towards the south part of the state, like maybe 2/3 of the way down in Florida. And it's just a big giant swamp. So Jupiter, Florida is just above that, and it's a fucking frog leg festival. And there was like 2 people there watching us play. And I don't even know what the hell we played there, but I don't know. That was kind of at the point where I was kind of thinking of what else I could do with my musical career other than playing with Joshua Firecloud and Dom in the Joshua Firecloud band, playing just jam shit that I didn't really want to play. So, I don't know. Sort of kind of work on some kind of an exit strategy. Right around that time, he comes up and says, "Hey, I've got this guy that contacted us from Norway, loves our band." I was like, how does he fucking love our band? I mean, we've never recorded anything. We've been playing at the same bar on the river for like 2 months, and now some dude in Norway wants to fucking fly us to Norway and play for 2 weeks. And I'm like, okay. At that time, I started finding out a whole bunch of weird shit about Joshua Firecloud. Previously, before I met him, he had gone to a church, and he was sitting in the church by himself, wasn't invited, and listening to the sermon and the whole thing. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the whole fucking service, he stands up and lets all the people in the church know that he is Jesus Christ and he has returned. And they fucking kicked him out, and he was never allowed back in. So the dude was like this weird. He had all these different aliases. It was weird. I mean, it was fucking weird. But I don't know. It got me started. It literally just shoved me right into playing live music and playing in bands. And it was not an ideal beginning. It's not what I hoped it would be or what I ever imagined it would be, but it is what it is, I guess. Oh no, I'm gonna sink. Talk about swamps. So that was my humble beginnings as a drummer in a band, was with my first jam band that failed, and then the Joshua Firecloud band. That was the weirdest fucking thing to this day that I've ever done playing music. What happens next? Well, I don't know. We'll see. Coming up.